Hidden Voices family. It is so great to be here with you, to see y'all, or hear y'all. Hope you can see me. This is so cool. It's the very first time for us that we are live streaming our video, and because it is 2021. Happy New Year to everyone. One of the things that I like to do is I don't say Happy New Year. I say Happy New Year all the way up until Martin Luther King Day. And then after that, it's Happy Martin Luther King Day. So right now, it's Happy New Year to every single one of you. It's so good to be here and to be amongst you. Please. Feel free to chat with us and join us, join into the conversation. We have a lot to get into today. We have a lot we're going to be talking about. Starting with, we're going to start with the good news. The good news is that we have the first Black senator from Georgia. His name is Reverend Warnock, and he and John Ossoff was both elected to the United States Senate with the beautiful help of these wonderful Black women who organize. And so I want to give a special shout out to both of the folks that, first of all, to our family down in Georgia, to Ishri and Jonathan. Shout out to you all for the work that you've done. Shout out to Latasha Goodman, who is been organizing this. She runs an organization called Black Voters Matter. And then also special shout out obviously to Stacey Abrams, to all of the unsung heroes that are down there, making sure that we actually got our votes, got our votes out, and that our votes are heard. That's the most important thing that could ever happen. So I'm really happy that happened. It's so funny because I had a conversation with my mom, and she was saying that she was actually saying, oh, there's so many Black folks out there, so now you should run for Senate. Like, she was actually on the phone with me and Asia, and she's like, you should vote for Senate. And then I was like, I said, I think Warnock got something like 2,500,000 votes, and he's like super popular, and I think like the only people that I have that might vote for me is like you all. And then I was like, maybe I should do a call and say all I need is 11,780 votes. That's hopefully an inside joke. Y'all get it right. 11,780 votes. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. All right. All right. So if you are enjoying yourself and enjoying the conversation, I'm going to shout out Amila, shout out Babalawa, Sadiq. It's so good to see y'all. Please join us, comment in the chat. It's so good to be here with everybody, and let us know you're here. Let us know you're with us. So please shout us out and chat with us. All right, so in other news, I want to do a couple more shout outs. One is, so we have HBO Live, and on the week after New Year's, mom came over for New Year's, and so she and I were watching, and on HBO, not live, HBO Max, there's a show on there called The Apollo. So it is really fantastic. It was so wonderful watching it with mom, because she just knew like all of the legends. She was just naming everybody. She's like, oh, Ella Fitzgerald, Pearl Beverly, James Brown. Like, every time somebody popped on the screen, she knew them all by name, and that was just such a wonderful thing to kind of just sit there and see her, in her element. And so I was thinking it might be really nice to actually have her come in and us talk about the movie together. But one of the things that the movie does is the Apollo is responsible for the film and the play between the world and me. So I wanted to do a shout out to that, and then also to say that if you haven't seen the Apollo on HBO Max, please watch it. It's phenomenal. And also Between the World and Me is on HBO Max as well. It's Ta-Nehisi Coates, and he actually speaks on and does a bit on the Apollo towards the end. So it's really well done. It's super well done. Also, shout out to Tiffany Cross. She has a show on MSNBC. She took over for Joy Reid, and she has done some superb work. Just very, insightful, very honest, very beautiful, strong, powerful Black woman talking about, Black women and Black folks in politics. And she wrote this book, Say It Louder, Black Voters, White Narratives, and Saving Our Democracy. So shout out to Tiffany. If you haven't watched her, you should check her out on MSNBC. And then Abby Phillips, who is on CNN, just got a promotion, and she actually is taking over Sunday show. So she'll be one of the only Black women anchors on CNN, anchoring a show called I think State of the Union on Sunday. She's taking over for John King, this white man. So support these very beautiful, strong, powerful, intelligent, brilliant, journalists. Okay, so those are my shout outs. Now, in other news, all right, we have to talk about Kamala Harris and Vogue magazine. So this is, I'm talking about this, but this is also connecting to the larger concept of what we're going to be talking about, which is the role of the media in portraying Black folks and Black people. And so Vogue magazine, their cover was accidentally, they hadn't planned on it, but they shot two images of Kamala Harris. One of them, which is supposed to be in the make the cover, she really it's a very unflattering image of her, right? And she has on her Converse, which is her signature. But these folks are it's a fashion magazine, so you can style someone. They didn't style her. They actually said that her team styled her. They also lightened her skin. Why is that important? Because we have to recognize the role that the media plays in dehumanizing us, in taking away our authority, and also in promoting this idea that light is right. So the closer you are to whiteness, the better. And so, of course, Vogue magazine would put a picture of Kamala Harris, the first vice president, a woman of color, Black woman and South Asian woman, to be vice president and lighten her skin. That is an affront to all women of color. It is an affront to Black women. And I was reading on Twitter where they were basically saying, hey, Vogue hates Black people. And it's pretty evident. And they tried to blame Kamala Harris's team for their work. It's like, no, you are a fashion magazine. This is what you do. You have designers from all over the world. And yeah, there's a lot of really cool, hip designers that can style somebody in some chucks and still make them look sharp and relatable and all of that. But why would you have Chuck Taylors and pearls? It just looked whack. I'm sorry, it just looked whack. It was just that make no sense whatsoever. And Kamala, I love you, but you also probably need to get a new stylist. You are vice president now, so we need to get rid of these people who would allow them to have you looking like that on the cover of the magazine. But we're gonna give all responsibility. Vogue needs to be taking responsibility. All right, so the other thing I wanted to be talking about is the Capitol police officers. So yesterday, there was a funeral for Brian Sicknick. Brian Sicknick is a Capitol police officer who was there on Wednesday. he was killed in the line of duty, and they held his funeral. And if you watch cable news, you will notice that the only channel I think that really showed the funeral was actually channel. I saw clips of it on MSNBC, but it was not really shown on any other channel. The other thing that wasn't told is that he was beaten to death. Like, he was literally bludgeoned to death with a fire extinguisher. And so this gets into what our topic for tonight is, which is around the specifically talking about the issue of white supremacy and the media's role in promoting white supremacy and white fragility. So let's talk about Brian Sicknick, and let's also talk about Officer Howard Liebengood. Officer Howard Liebengood is the second officer from the state Capitol Police who actually died. He's the second, officer to lose his life. He actually committed suicide, and that is a casualty of the insurrection that happened. And so we want to first kind of acknowledge the service of these gentlemen, and also Eugene Goodman, who was the brother that you see backing up who's being chased by the mob, and all he has is a baton, and he's backing up the stairs. He was actually leading this angry mob of insurrectionists away from the Senate hallway, because the Senate was not secured. So they secured the House space, and they locked the police officers were able to unlock themselves in, but they were not able to do that with the Senate. And that was one of the reasons why you were able to see all of these ridiculous insurrectionists in there, sitting where they were not supposed to be sitting, and stealing stuff and doing all of this madness. So Eugene Goodman really risked his life to save these senators. So, and then Brian Sicknick and Officer Liebengood both lost their lives as a result of what happened. The news actually said today that, I'm looking at Kabbalah. Exactly right. So this is what I'm talking about, because this hasn't been portrayed on the news. These things, actually, yesterday, Tarek and I, we were driving, and he actually has Sirius XM radio, right? And so they announced on Sirius XM radio that Officer Liebengood committed suicide. That was not on any other major news network. I actually had to research to find out his name and find out a little bit more information on him. I looked on YouTube, and like the stories on YouTube about him have very, very little, maybe 300, 400 folks that have even viewed the video. Most people don't know what's happening or that this happened. And so this kind of speaks to the reality of the fact that here's somebody who, they are, this is a casualty, right? The fact of the matter is, to witness something as horrendous as what took place on Wednesday, and that's not being told. The fact that no one knows that this black man is a hero, that I had to find out the Eugene Goodman's name on social media, because when they show the image, it looks like he's running away from these mobsters, because he doesn't have anything but his baton with him. But when actuality, he's risking his life to lead them away from the Senate chambers. And that didn't come out in any of the major news networks. They did not talk about that. Why? Because, again, promotion of white supremacy, right? So they don't want to make this black man the hero that he is. They don't want to give him the credit that he is due. They don't want to talk about the ways in which these white folks have literally beaten somebody to damn death, right? And then you have the audacity to say that we need to heal and bring people together. Right, you can say that because you sat up there and spread lies about the election, and you claimed that the votes were fraudulent, and then you basically sick a mob on your colleagues. This is what Donald Trump did, right? But not only did he do that, who else did that? Was all of the, like, two-thirds of the Congress, Republicans in the House actually literally turned around, and what did they do? They voted to disenfranchise hundreds of millions of voters in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in Arizona, in Nevada, and in Wisconsin, in 6 states, right? That's what they did. They basically said that all of those votes didn't count. Why? Because they didn't vote the way you wanted them to vote. And so they spoke against democracy, and it's really criminal what they've done, and it's very criminal what was done by Donald Trump. And so, yeah, it's like this. What's happening is that social media is actually ahead of mainstream media in reporting what's been going on, right? So we're finding out about all of these things through social media, and then after these things have been out there, then mainstream media is being forced to reveal them, right? But it's not the other way around. Mainstream media is not leading the investigations. They're not revealing. They're not doing the proper reporting and sharing things until it's already been out there, and then it's like, oh yeah, let's talk about Eugene Goodman now, right? And that's ridiculous. The actually say, yeah, Brian Sicknick died as a result of his injuries, without saying he was beaten to death with a fire extinguisher. That's a problem, because what it does is that it promotes white fragility, because white people cannot hear about the wrongdoing that they have done. Using the term writers equates these people who are murderers with anybody else that does a peaceful protest. That's not the same thing, right? They actually had an insurrection. They actually put a working noose on the Capitol. They had zip ties, which are plastic handcuffs, prepared themselves tactically to kidnap and hang members of Congress, and more than likely the Vice President of the United States, who was one of the folks that actually they were searching for, looking for him, calling them out by name, right? And so now let's get to Twitter. Okay. So a lot of you may not actually be on social media. I have been on social media for over a decade. And one of the things that I kind of joke about is, when all of this nonsense started happening with Facebook, is that a lot of friends of mine actually were like, hey, I'm leaving Facebook. I'm done with Facebook, and I didn't leave Facebook because I was like, Facebook is pretty much the only place in my life that where things are curated. Like, Facebook tells me what I was doing 10 years ago, what I was doing 8 years ago. Like, this is what you were doing. Here's your memory. Here's the, your most popular posts. Like, all of my photos are, in albums and neatly arranged by decade or year and whatnot. And so I was like, everything is curated, so I'm not gonna leave. Shout out to, hey, Jonathan. Oh my God, you get all your news from Twitter too? Yes. Okay, so let's talk about it. And then Sister Sonia, well, you said that CNN spoke about that tonight. Well, you're talking about about our Eugene Goodman, that they finally talked about him. I believe that's what you might be referring to when you said they talked about it tonight. But yeah, it's the news that we're finding out. You know, there was a hashtag on Twitter, hashtag Eugene Goodman, right? So now Twitter decides that they are done with Donald Trump. And I am so freaking happy about it. I'm ecstatic about it because he just got kicked off of Twitter. He got kicked off of Facebook. He got kicked off of Snapchat. This man is like walking around with a piece of glass. Because his phone is just like a brick now. Hey Rita, I want to also shout out my team. First of all, I have to start off with my son Sadiq, who really literally spent the past 4 hours with me from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock, helping me set up this live stream. So shout out to you. Such an excellent support that you have provided, and he has done such wonderful work with all of our edits and everything that we've done. So thank you, Sadiq, for all of your help. Woohoo! Now, Tasneem, such a shout out to you, my dear, for everything you've done with our social media. She's our social media manager. Shout out to the post. She manages our Instagram. If you haven't already, please follow us on Instagram, on IG. Like our posts on Hidden Voices on IG. And then Rita is my new assistant, and she's the one that's scheduling us. So shout out to Rita. I'm so happy that you're joining our team. We have decided to do this work more and sort of to actually have do these live streams in addition to doing scheduled posts where we do have our guests come in. So we'll talk a little bit more about upcoming things very soon. But I want to shout out my team, Rita, Sadiq, and Taz. All right. So if you're not on Twitter, I think one of the things I love about it is that it really is a place where here's an example. So somebody tweeted last week, and they tweeted the little you know how the ponytail holders that kids wear, where it's like a knocker, and it's two balls, right, and you tie them together. And this black woman tweeted out and was like, what do we call these? What do we call these? Depending on where, shout out to all the black women. What did you call this? And so people were actually tweeting back and saying, I'm from Philly and we call them ballies, and I'm from Michigan and we call them knockers, and I'm from this. So I tweeted and I was like, yeah, I grew up in the Bay Area. We call them knockers. And also when we were kids, we actually literally used to put tinfoil at the bottom of our braids, and we would hold our braids in together with tinfoil. Now that was and I tweeted out a picture of myself when I was 9 or 10 years old with a head full of pink and white braids with tinfoil at the ends, and it went got 100, more than 100 likes, and people, retweeted it, and people were like, yeah, girl, that's such a great memory. So it's just especially now, this is a shout out to Black Twitter, right? It's just a space, right? It's just a space where you can talk about the events of the day and talk about all these things. Donald Trump had 80 million followers on Twitter, and the mainstream media would go to Twitter in order to tell us what the news was from Donald Trump. Because even though he has a comms team and a comms director and all these things, his main avenue to communicating to folks was Twitter. And he would basically use that as his major platform to share everything that he thought. And he used it as a space to create the propaganda to promote the lie that Joe Biden stole the election from him. That is what he did. And he's done it for months. He used that space for months to do that. He promulgated that lie for months. And the only thing that Twitter would say was, he would tweet it and he would be like, this is such a fraud, and they're taking our country, and they would say, this tweet has been disputed. They never took it down. They never said, he's lying. They just said there's a dispute. Why? Because they were afraid of arguing on behalf of folks that were saying that Donald Trump was telling a lie. So they didn't want to, he's the president. They didn't want to get into it. So despite the fact that, and I've been on Twitter, I've been called, a raghead on Twitter. I've been told to keep my mouth closed. I've been told, all kinds of crazy stuff. And that's just miles. I don't even have that many. I think I have like 700 followers. This man had 80 million followers on Twitter. Okay. Now, so yeah, he should have been banned a long time ago, but they used the concept that here's the president of the United States and this is free speech. Mind you, this is a private company, okay? They have rules, so-called, like I actually have friends, and my co-author Nalia, she ended up, I think she tweeted one day and she said something like, men are trash or something, and they put her in Twitter jail. Right? And which, if you go to Twitter jail, that means you are not able to tweet at all for a long period of time. They put her in Twitter jail. Did they put Donald Trump in Twitter jail? No. They let this man tweet all kinds of horrible things, again, attack on people, and actually some of the things that he has said, what he said about Ilhan Omar, she has had death threats against her life because of what he said about her, right? Telling her to go back to her country. So he stoked people. He incited them for years. And definitely he incited this lie that Joe Biden lost. And that the lie is that the media wanted Joe Biden to win. So they came out and basically said Joe Biden won, even though he lost. And that the tech companies hired hackers to change vote tallies so that in Biden's favor, so that hundreds of thousands of votes that were on that came out for Biden actually were, changed. The machines were changed and they were hacked. That's the lie. That's the lie that he said. Now, mind you, if you remember, when Donald Trump lost to Hillary Clinton, he lost the popular vote by 3 million votes. What did he say? He said 3 million illegal aliens voted in the state of California. And if you just annexed California from the rest of the map, he would have won the popular vote. But that California was allowing illegal people to vote. That's what he said. Then, not only did he say that, he actually hired an election commission to come out and basically prove that there was these illegal voters. And in the 2018 election, I was listening to the radio and there were literally folks coming in from the federal government. They were in Mountain View watching the votes to make sure that millions of voters don't vote illegally throughout the state of California in 2018. So this is a lie that has been going on for years. He was already saying that he was not going to get, he wasn't going to go peacefully. He wasn't going to, he was like, the only way that I will accept this, that it's not fraudulent, is basically if I win. That was his argument. And he lost handily by like 7 million votes. But what he had already done was he got his supporters to believe the big lie, the propaganda. He said, it's not social media, it's Trump media. If you listen to Trump media, you will 100% believe that, this was a fraudulent election. This is why the Republican Party, 2/3 of them actually voted for, disenfranchising millions of people. Why? Because of what is called, it's a two-word term, it's called sound bite, right? So what that is basically they edit everything you say down to a very small bite, and that's what they play on the media, right? So what they wanted, all of these congressmen wanted people to hear them supporting Donald Trump, and that sound bite would then hopefully in their minds get them reelected, even though they know that they're promoting fraudulent information and they're lying. And that's why they would do that even when their lives were jeopardized. But the reality is they didn't know the extent of what was happening at the Capitol when they voted. I know that they were afraid, and they were a lot of them, they were in a secure location. They saw some of the tweets, but they also saw people being welcomed in by the police officers. Some Capitol police officers, they're investigating, dozens of them. Some of them, actually handheld, this white woman, walked her down the steps, okay, holding her hand. And this is a murderer. That's what you have to do. You have to, like, if you imagine that, what they say is if someone dies while you are in the process of committing a crime, then you are guilty of their murder, right? Even if you didn't pull the trigger, you are an accessory to that fact. So these people are accessories to murder, even though, including Donald Trump, right? So we need to say that. We need to name that. Now, Twitter has decided that they are responsible. And the reality is, if you watch, like I didn't watch the Social Dilemma, and essentially not because, I have studied media, and that's one of the things that I, do for a living, right? Is talk about and train people in critical media literacy. And I'm very much aware that here's these white engineers, and they are in this the psyche of, hey Baraka, welcome, salam alaikum. They're in the psyche of these, white Twitter users and, social media users. And so, yeah, they were able to help manipulate. They do have echo chambers. They are just listening to themselves. But then for us to acknowledge that when you made that movie, you didn't look at and you didn't speak to not one scholar of color about this, that's ridiculous, right? And the fact of the matter is that, yeah, you understand the psyche of these people because you are these people, right? These are your aunts, these are your uncles, these are your moms, your dads, your cousins, everybody that you know. So yeah, you would be in there, have the capacity to create, these echo chambers where people are just talking to and listening, and you create the algorithm so they only hear themselves. So it's so funny because, I'm like, these white men actually think they know me because they keep sending me ads of like, Afrocentric clothes and, like shop here, like, here, buy your scarf, something such and such, and, that's what they put in my feed to get me to come. And I'm like, y'all don't know me. Gonna get me to buy, from whatever company because you think you can recognize me and you can't even develop, facial recognition software that recognizes Black women. So I just got the iPhone 12 and they just now are able to recognize my face. And I'm like, how many years did that take? When initially it would be like when they would see a face of a person of color, if somebody looks like us, they would be like, oh no, it's not a Black woman, it's an animal, right? Just ridiculous, racist, white supremacist. Again, this is all gets back to the topic of our discussion tonight, which is about white supremacy in the media. So this is white supremacy in the media, and Twitter has been responsible for promoting white supremacy, very much so. And then they have to basically recognize that they reap what they sow, right? Because the bottom line is now, what do we have happen? We actually literally have a situation where the Capitol was invaded and people's lives were in jeopardy, and they put blood on the monuments inside the Capitol building. They put their blood on them. They literally stole stuff. These are criminal people, right? And they beat somebody to damn death. And so we have to recognize that the extreme hatred has been fostered by this idea of white supremacy. So now let's talk about Ashley Babbitt. Ashley Babbitt is the white woman who was shot and killed by Capitol Police as she tried to break through the window and be the first one to enter into the chambers where Speaker Pelosi was, and she was saying, I'm out, when they were saying, we're here to get you. And she actually tweeted before she went, and she said she was holding her phone, and she said, no one's going to stop us. Ashley Babbitt is a 14-year veteran of the U.S. Air Force. Okay? These people are skilled militia, skilled military. My eldest daughter is an airman. And one of the things that I remember her telling me about was because she was going through PT, physical training, and she actually said that you have to be fit to fight. Fit to fight. That is the terminology that they use when they are preparing these people. So you have to be of age. They won't bring somebody in. Like, I couldn't go and be like, oh, I'm 51 years old. Let me join up. Let me sign up for the Air Force. They'll be like, hell no. Because you're not fit enough. We need these young people. They want you to come in 18, 19, 20 years old, right? And serve and be fit and prepared to fight. Now, here's somebody who has tactical training for 14 years and went from San Diego, California. Nobody sit here and tell me that California is a liberal place. Yes, there are liberal places within California. There are progressive places within California. There's also racist ass people in California, including people like Ashley Babbitt's ass. And no, she is not a hero. She is a terrorist, and she was shot and killed because she was prepared by the military, and she was about to use her military training to try and capture and kill the damn Speaker of the House of the United States of America. So they shot her. And the fact of the matter is, the reason why folks don't know about it is because they would not show her murder on the news. Why? Because of white fragility. Do they actually want to see a white woman get shot and killed on international television? Hell no. Because they want to promote white women on a pedestal, right? And so therefore, even though there was, they're just as culpable, just as responsible, military trained, they're not going to show her. They're going to call her a hero, right? That is what they did. That is what they did. And yeah, you're right, Boudica. It's a fallacy. It's a fallacy to sit up there and say that that California is a liberal bastion of, a liberal space. And one of the things I had this conversation last semester with one of my students, and we were talking about what was going on. This was right before the election. And he said, oh, it was a white male student. He said, well, the reality is that you are saying that you have that idea, because I was basically talking about how there's discrimination and there's voter suppression, and he was saying that that's a California idea, and you probably think that way because you're from California, and everybody doesn't think the same way, and California is this liberal place. And I was like, even within the Bay Area there's racism, and I say I have a different impression of California because I'm a Black woman that grew up in California. And I've been called a nigger in California more than once. So yeah, I don't see it as the same way that you see it. So so that's the reality. And Ashley Babbitt is a criminal. She is not a hero. And they should show her murder. If you can show George Floyd's murder, you can show Ashley Babbitt's murder. If you can sit up here and say that Breonna Taylor deserved to die because she was sleeping in the bed next to somebody who you considered a criminal, what the hell are you trying to say about Ashley Babbitt, who came from San Diego, California to Washington, D.C. to murder the Speaker of the House with 14 years of training by the Air Force in tactical training? She's not a criminal. She's not an insurrectionist. She's a martyr. If they actually had the audacity to say, oh, she loved her country. She loved Donald Trump. She loved Donald Trump to the point that she gave her life as for an insurrection that Donald Trump started. And so we have to recognize the fragility of whiteness that is perpetuated in the media when they won't show this white woman being murdered on television, but they could show us every day and twice on Sunday and on repeat. That is disgraceful. That is a freaking disgraceful thing. So they want to desensitize us. That's right, Boudica. They want to desensitize us. And it is a system. And so one of the things that we're going to do is I'm going to show you this clip. And actually one of my colleagues, Raina Leon, she emailed this to me, and I had heard about it, but I hadn't seen it. But I think it's really, really important for us to watch it. So let me switch to it now. So that we can see this. And I don't know if folks have seen this or not, but it's very short, and let's just play it, okay? So what this is the Black and brown people who work at the Capitol. And what are they doing? They're cleaning up the glass and the mess, that these white folks created. And when I see this, this makes me sick. Do you hear me? It makes me freaking sick to my stomach. And why? Because we've been cleaning up your shit for freaking 600 years or whatever, and I'm tired of it. And this is ridiculous, right? This is ridiculous. And yeah, they're doing their job, and we are doing. You know what? I started off the conversation, I started off with acknowledging um, the Black women who are responsible for cleaning up the mess of the racism in Georgia, right? That has been going on since Black folks came to this country. And because they were doing the work of cleaning that up is why we actually were able to elect our first Black male senator and Jewish senator to the state of Georgia. Because we're cleaning up the mess. We're cleaning up the mess. And as a result of that work and of cleaning up that mess, absolutely, 100%. Because we were cleaning up that mess, we actually have done something that is absolutely very powerful. And so we're going to circle back to it. But one of the things that we can't do is we cannot ignore the reality of the situation. We cannot ignore the fact that white supremacy, that video wasn't being shown. People don't know that that's happening. That conversation isn't being had. And that's wrong. And so we need to be having these conversations. We need to be sharing this information, right? We need to be telling the truth, right? About the fact that a mess has been made. And you damn right. He needs to be impeached and he needs to be imprisoned, right? That's what needs to happen. So I want to thank each and every single one of you for joining us tonight. Shout out to all of you wonderful, wonderful people. I was so nervous. I was like, I don't know, I never did a live stream before. So 100%, so very, very appreciative of you for joining us. Now, I want to tell you what's coming up and what we're going to look forward to. So if you have been paying attention to my social media, then you know that Unhidden Voices is partnering with Sacramento State University and the National Science Foundation to recruit fellows. We're going to be doing supporting centering Black women in teaching and learning, and we had 25 fellowships that we were giving away $1,000 each, and we literally have Amaha. So good to see you. We had 50 applicants for 25 fellowships, and so I wanted to just acknowledge the brilliance of all of these applicants. We're going to talk a little bit more about it and talk about, the folks that we selected. Thank you, Sister Haria. Thank you. Shout out to Sister Sonia. Shout out to Sister Haria, Baraka. So good. Sister Amila. Oh my God, Sister Kia, all of you. It's just so good to see you. Jonathan, Ushri, giving hugs and love to every single one of you. But we're going to have the facilitators of this who are helping me with the professional development that we're putting together for our fellows. They're going to be some upcoming guests. Additionally, Reina Leon, she and I are going to be talking more in depth, just having a deep dive into the impact of this pain. But I have to say this. So like the other day, I was watching Biden on television, and he was talking about how his granddaughter saw that the disparity between how the black folks are treated on the Capitol, steps, and how the white folks are treated. And his granddaughter was like, "This isn't fair." And like I'm watching it, and I started tearing up. And then Oscar's like, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, "I'm crying because racism is hella painful. It's just hella painful." And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit more about like this pain and the grief that we're experiencing. And Sister Babalawa and I are going to do a deep dive into that. We've been doing some collaboration on that topic. So we're going to, I'm looking forward to talking to her and talking with all of you again. We're going to do a mixture of these live streams and also the recorded content that we normally do with guests. But I'm so very grateful to all of you for joining us, sending so much love to you, and so excited about working together. Please like us, like this episode. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to our podcast. Click the notification button so you can get information about any upcoming live streams that we're doing, and follow us on Instagram. And yeah, so much love. All right, thank you, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Good night. Thank you for coming through. Bye. Are you done?